So we're having a discussion on using the lat to punch. And so Olin's got some film up. Go ahead and take over.
Yeah, I mean, even I'll eventually will find a good pass blocking because we're talking about the punch in pass blocking. But you can see even like I'm playing center here, but even my position here is like the wheel that we're talking about and accessing your lats to be, if you can lock everything in place with that tight position with your elbows in, then you can use your legs.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of using that same position. Like that's still like a punch, right? I'm using my lats, not my arms. I'm not using my elbows. I'm like putting my hands inside and like locking my lat, like shocking them with my lats, and then I can use my
Mm-hmm.
legs there.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying your elbows are in because you can see it. Your elbows are in, and
Right.
because your elbows are in, you can use your hips as well.
Yes. Like
Mm-hmm.
that to me right here was more my lats than it is my arm, my elbow extensor, right? It's more like a boom and like my lat
Mm-hmm.
is like locking into place there, you know?
Yeah, so it's like you're using your lat to hit, but to also extend your spine, which makes
Right.
sense because it attaches to your spine
Yep.
and your arm, right? So think about it, it attaches to your spine and your arm, and you're essentially showing us how you're using your spine and your arm to punch this guy because I can see the physical displacement. I'm looking at his number and you can see like the nine rotate.
Right. So we're saying, we're always saying this is called a combo block. We call this a single between me and the left guard. But we're always saying if I'm the first guy there, I'm gonna change his spine angle.
Mm,
So if I can change his spine angle, I can take his power away, right? So if I can get his angle
hmm
up, then we can move him. And this guy right here at the time was the best nose guard in the NFL. This is Pat Williams. He was an absolute monster. But and he had obviously had his plays too, but that's it's not easy to do. And this against a guy like this, your technique better be right, and your elbows better be in, and you better be armless from the back, and you better be doing all the things that you have to do to move a guy like this. So immediately when we were talking about the wheel earlier, and we are talking about okay, like find your lats. Now can you find your spine with all that stuff locked? This is immediately the position I thought of.
hmm
You
hmm
know,
So yeah, so what you're referring to now is the abdominal wheel. So we've been using a wheel, an abdominal wheel, like wheel as in like it's gonna roll like on a car, but it's like instead of the long axis one that
mm-hmm,
everybody's probably seen, we're doing one where our elbows are on it,
hmm.
right? And what that one is doing is because you made a very specific comment and because we were talking about like well how do we here stop sharing your screen for a second.
Okay.
Yeah, you're just because your pictures are rolling through I didn't um uh so um okay, because what you were saying is the tunch punches, because we're
Hmm.
trying to relate this back to the tunch punches. And
Right.
you were saying like people would, and they still come, and they're like, "How were you doing what we just saw on film?"
Right. Right.
So now,
Elbows in, arms from the back, and being able to punch. So for people who are watching, like to be able to punch just from here. So you don't have to bring it all the way back. And it's just my lat dealing on people.
so it's your lat being able to do that with your arms will also simultaneously get some spine extension, and
Hmm.
then that displaces that person. But you said that you first felt this when you were doing tunch punches and you got fatigued.
Right. But you do so touches punches is about 4 or 5 different patterns, 15 seconds on, 15 seconds off. And the first time you're doing it, you don't really know what you're doing, but you get so tired that all of a sudden you have to use your lat. Right. And then the next day you're sore all in your lats and you're thinking, why am I sore in my lats? And then I thought to myself, well, that's where I'm supposed to be punching from. That's why Tunch designed that workout at that with that exact times because he knew your arms would wear out. So once your arms wear out, you have no choice but to punch from your lats.
Right. So then what you would do is you were using the tunch punches to fatigue yourself but you think that you did so much volume there that it kind of had some elbow that could have amplified some of your elbow issues.
Well, yeah, I had to definitely take, things out of my elbow and get elbow surgeries, and just so I could reuse, halfway through the year, I had surgery on my elbow during the year, right? So, and a lot of that is from doing the touches punches over and over and over again.
Into the wall, because you said you
Yeah.
were doing it into the wall.
Yeah, we'd hold the bag, the football bag against the wall, right? Which
Yeah.
the wall wasn't very forgiving once you're through the bag. So that obviously is not great for your elbows. So like what we were talking about, can you find a way to train the lats to find your lats without having to wear your arms out so much?
Exactly. So you found it kind of through fatigue, and
Mhm.
now that we're kind of trying to dissect this punch, and we're figuring out the lat is the prime thing that we think is missing. It's
Mhm.
like, well, now we can prime the lat instead of fatigue it because we know that. And when you
Right.
prime the lat, the nervous system goes, oh, here's the lat. And then when you have that specific coaching, like, hey, use your lat to generate to punch the bag, right? Like the one clips that we saw you sent a couple weeks ago where it's like they're just hitting the bag right after, right?
Mhm. Yes.
That is another way to be able to start to develop the punch that we just saw on film.
Right. Right. And what does functional range, what do you guys say in your guys' system is if you don't have a lat, you can't use it.
Right.
Most people don't they don't know what their lat is. So you can say it over and over again 100 times to punch from your lats, but if they don't know what it is, they're not going to use it. And then if they're not tired, they'll use their arms.
Right. So what you're saying is when somebody comes to you for this help, you're not making the assumption that their nervous system knows that they have a lat and how to use said lat.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and then that's like, in the Lyman Special Strength book where we write like the player's not an asshole. He doesn't know you're telling him to punch from his lat, but he has no idea. And unless you're willing to wear him, unless he's willing and you're willing to wear them out, they're not going to find their lat,
Right.
right? Yeah. And
Yeah,
most
for
guys aren't
sure.
willing. I can't tell you how many guys I have punch in my gym, and I have to cut the time down because it just completely wears them out,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they say, "Oh, my
Mm-hmm.
elbow or my shoulder sore," and they don't want to do that. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, it's like the priming the lat, finding the lat before you punch, and then the cue that you've taught me and we use a lot is use that.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel that? Okay, let's go use that.
Mm-hmm. And so like let's say that somebody uses the wheel to
Mhm.
prime their lats
Mhm.
and then they go to the tunch punch. Like what volume are you going to have them do on the tunch punch?
I'll just have them pick one or two drills and have them do 10 to 20 punches. And if they can feel it and do it, then especially in a gym setting, I don't need
Yeah.
a ton of it, right? Because then we were talking about like, okay, now you want to prime your lats before practice. That way
Mm-hmm.
you're using your lats all through practice, right? Because like we were just talking about, you're going to run into the problem of overuse again, and your elbows are going to be sore, and your shoulder, and your wrists, and your hands are all going to be sore, and you don't want to deal with all that. So if he can, like I'm going to have to show him again, like that one time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to lie to people and say that one time is going to cure everything, right? So it's just going to be a constant, like, well, we're trying to find your lats, so let's do it for like a month.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And then that's enough accumulation over time to kind
Mhm.
of know like, hey, we're making progress or we need to maybe adjust the strategy.
Yeah, and then the feedback will be like, hopefully you hear them say, punch and say, oh, that wasn't my lats. Then you know,
Right.
right? Then they know what like a lat punch feels like.
Yeah, that's huge. That's
Yeah.
huge. Do you have anything else?
No.